Well, we are on the series on emotionally healthy spirituality, and today is going to be part 6 of this 8-part series. And I hope you are following this series. If you miss any of the messages, you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch it. I know some of you, not all of you, I understand, but it's okay. Some of you are following the 40 days daily office. Whatever amount of participation that you are involved in, even at least on Sunday morning, I trust that you are learning as much as I do. I've been through this. I've gone through this book before, but even going through the second, third, or fourth time, I'm still learning something. So I think a key phrase that Pastor Pete Scazzaro mentioned in his book is that it is not possible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. Can we have the slide on, please? Yeah. It is not possible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. Now that's a rather a firm, assertion. And I've been in pastoral ministry for so many years. I would say now I agree. Maybe in the early days, I'm not quite sure if I understand or agree. But today I'll say I fully agree that you have people who have increased in Bible knowledge, and that's all good, increase in, been to many church activities, attend church regularly, and so on, and yet there's just something in them, the brokenness that has not been attended to, and that weighs them down. So I'm glad we are doing this, and I trust that this will be a season for all of us to grow emotionally, all right, a bit more. And if there's one or two areas in your life that God has identified, and it could be a brokenness that is due to a family or origin or just life experiences, I trust that that's something you want to attend to. And we also have resources that we are sharing with you, like the RTF and so on, that I hope you can make use of it even after this series is over, because it's really a lifelong journey of growing. But each time you peel off one layer, each time you grow a bit more, and sometimes it's a quantum leap, sometimes it's just incremental. You find yourself becoming more and more free, right? I mean, like Jialing, this is just the beginning of your journey with the Lord Jesus. And already, I think I see you grow so much. But I really trust and believe that in the years ahead, you will grow even more. Okay, so today's message is part 6 and is entitled Discover the Rhythms of the Daily Office and Sabbath. Discover the rhythms of the daily office and Sabbath. And there's one live issue that I want to deal with, and this particular topic deals with, is that a depleted life can lead to a disconnected life from God and from people. If I'm emotionally depleted, it affects my connection with God. It doesn't mean I love God less. It doesn't mean that I don't know my Bible well enough, but it's just hard to connect, and even more so with people. Even people that I love, people that I care deeply about. But if I'm emotionally just empty, it's very hard for me to be able to connect with people. And here, this topic shares two practices. The practice of daily office or daily devotion, I will explain a bit more the difference, and weekly Sabbath, all right? Daily office or devotion and weekly Sabbath. And personally, I'm excited about this because I will testify that these two practices or these two spiritual disciplines has what kept me, more than anything else that I do, kept me going all these years, after so many years, all right? To stay connected and to stay excited about life, excited about ministry. But before I go on, let's listen to Pastor Pete Scazzaro for, I think it's about 12 minutes video message. All right. That was a good teaching on this topic of daily office or daily devotion and weekly Sabbath. So I'm just going to add a few more thoughts, a little bit more teaching, just to beef it up a little before you have your reflection and group discussion time. So the question that I want to address is, how does the rhythm of daily office and weekly Sabbath nourish our emotional health? We are talking about being emotionally healthy, right? Spirituality. So how does these two practices, which, as Pastor Pete mentioned, is an ancient practice that's been passed on really for literally thousands of years, nourish our emotional health? At the heart of the daily office and the Sabbath is stopping to surrender to God and in trust. It's a statement I took from the book and I thought it's pretty good. At the heart of it, of these two practices, is stopping, all right, slowing down to surrender to God in trust. Okay, first, just explain a bit what the word rhythm means. You see, again, I just quote from Pastor Pete Scazzaro. God has structured the universe around rhythms, night and day, work and rest, sound and silence. When we ignore these inherent rhythms, we resist the very design of our creation and damage our capacity to love and serve. Let's read it one more time, okay? It's very well written, this statement. God has structured the universe around rhythms. That means the whole universe, the whole creation function in rhythms. Rhythms of day and night, work and rest. That's what we're going to talk about in a moment. Sound and silence. And even the seasons. When we ignore this inherent rhythm that is part of our created being, we resist the very design of our creation and we damage our capacity to love and serve. Not to mention, it damages our physical and our mental health as well. So, what it simply means is that we function best when we function according to God's design or God's rhythm, all right, for us. It's like you have a camera or you buy an equipment, all right, a cooking equipment. Now, it will function best if you follow the instructions, okay, and how you maintain it, how you clean it, how you use it. If not, you miss out a lot of things, or worse still, you may spoil the equipment. That's what happened to us. If we do not follow God's instruction for us, how we live our life, how we take care of our health, how we relate to one another and so on, we damage many, many things. And this is what we see happening around us all the time. I mean, there's a lot of concern about mental health issues these days, and rightly so. And I think at the heart of it's more than just the peripherals. I think at the heart of it, really, we are disconnected with our Creator. Okay, so as I've said, the practice of daily office or devotion and weekly Sabbath really, I think, have kept me going all these years. If not, I think a long time ago, I would have been a badly bitter burnout ex-pastor, okay? And but this has really kept me going. So I really hope that you will take to heart these practices. So first, let me just briefly make a few comments about daily office. I will spend a bit more time on the weekly Sabbath. The daily office, or what we call in KCC, daily devotion. Now, Pastor Pete did explain the difference between daily office and daily devotion. He said that daily devotion is a bit more about what we want to get from God, and a bit more about studying the Bible or reading the Bible. And his point is that daily office, the idea is more like we want to spend time with God. It's a time to have communion with God. Now, in KCC, all these years, we have emphasized actually the latter, which is like, it's not about the prayer time, it's not about reading the Bible passage. Yes, we use all that, but ultimately, it is really about just taking that time to be in God's presence. So, we use the term daily devotion, but in effect, we're actually practicing daily office. And he mentioned that Jesus and his disciples actually practice that 3 times a day. Is correct. And in fact, devout Jews, till today still practice that 3 times a day. Okay? And they will turn toward the west, towards Jerusalem, and they will pray. So I think from this exercise, from this series, I would like to suggest 2 things. 2 additional things that you can consider picking up for us in KCC. If you have been practicing daily devotion, and I trust that you have, all right, if you have not, it's a good time to start. If you have done it, but then recently you slack a little bit, it's time to pick it up again. But like what Pastor Pete said, let's not be legalistic about it, okay? It's not about that you have to do it thick. If you don't do, you feel guilty. don't, all right? If you miss 1 or 2 days in a week, it's all right. And or if you even go through a season when you're just going through a major life transition, or there's a crisis in your family or at work, you kind of miss out for even a couple of weeks, it's okay. Okay? Don't feel bad about it, but get back on track as soon as you can, all right? Because it will help you to keep going strong. So I'd like to suggest 2 additional things you want to consider. Number 1 is the practice of silence and stillness. Now, I actually am picking this up for myself. Okay, because normally my daily devotion, I will start off with either just a time of thanksgiving, or I'll have a time of worship, and I'll just play 1 or 2 YouTube songs that help me kind of zone in to God. And then I will read a Bible passage. Then I will pick up a verse or 2 and just stay on that verse a little bit longer. And it's not about studying the Bible. I don't try and check the original language, the Greek and Hebrew. I don't do all that. Even if I don't fully understand it, it's okay. The study can come later. But just let the word just, encourage me and fill my heart and mind. And then I'll take a few moments to respond in prayer. That's how I do it typically. But sometimes it can change. Sometimes I just end up the time. For me, it's usually around about half an hour or even slightly more. I would spend the whole time just worshiping, and that's all right, okay? And there are times where I spend a lot more time praying, or even I spend a bit more time on that particular passage of Scripture. Somehow it struck me. Again, I'm not trying to do a Bible study, and certainly not to prepare for my sermon, but that passage seems to be just speaking to me, and I'll stay on it a little bit longer. So don't get hung up about the methodology. The whole idea is that we take the time to just be in the presence of God. And I always recommend morning, although you can do it anytime in the day, okay? Now, another thing you may want to consider picking up is have an additional daily office or daily devotion on top of your daily devotion, which is like normally I'll do it in the morning. I think it may be a good practice to say sometime in the afternoon, just take a few minutes, could be 3, even 5 minutes. Just pause, silence, do deep breathing, and then just pray, okay? Or it could be at night. Actually, I used to practice that, but after a while, I kind of stopped. Before I sleep, there's a chair next to my bed. I would just sit there, and normally I'll just give thanks. Just give thanks for the day, and just take a moment to be quiet and pray, and it can just be a few minutes. So you want to consider these 2 things, all right? Practice of silence and stillness, additional daily office or time where you pause to be in the presence of God, okay? But if you have not started on the daily devotion, some of you are very new Christians, that's a good place to start. Don't be too ambitious, okay? Start with that, get the hang of it, and if you have not been doing it, it's a good time to return to it. Okay, the remaining time, I want to do a little bit of teaching about the weekly Sabbath. How does it nourish our emotional health? The passage of Scripture that tells us about the importance of Sabbath is from Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 to 11. I'd like you to read it together with me. And this is the 4th commandment, all right? The 10 commandments, this is number 4, together. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall do no any work, you or your son or your daughter, your male servant or your female servant, or your livestock, or the sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. This is the commandment that God gave to His people when He first took them out of Egypt and went to Mount Sinai, and He gave them the 10 commandments, and this is commandment number 4. Now, if you read the passage in Exodus 20, this is the longest commandment. It has the most words than all the other commandments, and which is rather unusual. And it is unusual also because it was given to literally a bunch of runaway slaves, 2.5 million or so people gathering. Now, slaves, they have no concept of rest day, okay? These people, they grew up as slaves, many generations slaves in Egypt. So it was revolutionary. It was a revelation. In fact, the concept of 6 days work, 1 day rest was totally foreign to the ancient world. All right? There's no culture that has such a concept, and certainly not in the ancient Near East. How did they get this idea? All their lives, all they know is 24/7, obey the masters, they work until they drop dead. That's it. No questions asked. And suddenly, they're beginning a new life, and this God that led them out of Egypt says, from now on, you shall practice 6 days work, 1 day rest, and you must remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. By the way, this is a commandment, all right? And this is one commandment that Christians will break without thinking twice. And I tell you, pastors, we are the worst. Because we love Jesus, we want to serve the church, no rest, okay? In my first few years, I did that, okay? And I'm glad that very early on, the Lord stopped me in my track, got me to learn about this, and I began to practice this quite early in my ministry. And I think it really saved me. I'm not exaggerating, okay, from burnout a long time ago. You will not, if somebody commit theft, you say, wow, that's wrong. Commit adultery, wow, that's wrong. Break the Sabbath day, nobody say anything. But please bear in mind, this is one of the 10 commandments. Now, again, we don't keep this commandment to be safe, all right? But to be blessed. And if we don't keep it, there are consequences. So Mark 2:27, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. God instituted this practice for our good because He knows how He designed us, all right? He knows how we function, how our body, our minds, our spirit, soul function. He said, look, if you function according to the way I have designed you, you're going to function in your maximum capacity. Okay. So how does a weekly Sabbath nourish our emotional health? Number one is that it rests our bodies. Our bodies are built to function in a 7-day cycle of 6 days work, 1 day rest. And it's not a divine afterthought. It is something that is built into creation. Because the passage says that 6 days God made the heaven and the earth and all that is in them and rested. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Right in the creation, God already put this into us, and God Himself said, I worked 6 days and I rested on the 7th day, which is to be an example for all of us. And Sabbath means to cease. Pastor Pete has explained that quite well. We are to cease from doing what we normally do for the purpose of accomplishment during the rest of the week. Okay, so what is work? Again, we don't want to be so legalistic, okay, which is what the Pharisees during Jesus' time and even subsequently have become. There's such a long list of do's and don'ts, How far can you walk? On Sabbath day, you can walk up to 1 mile, okay? But beyond 1 mile, it is you're breaking the law. So I heard that there were even people who practice this. Okay, I want to walk all the way there, but I can't. So I actually get somebody to carry me or something. Carry me 1 mile, stop, then another person carry me, 2nd mile, stop, then third person carry me. Oh, I can still get there, but I got 4 people carry me 1 mile each or something like that. It really got quite ridiculous. That's why Jesus had to come in and say, guys, okay, the Sabbath is made for man and not man for the Sabbath. But we don't want to go the other extreme, we'll totally ignore it. What is work? The simple definition for me is anything that you do for the purpose of accomplishment. We can just show the last slide again. Anything that we do for the purpose of accomplishment or to fulfill responsibility. Alex, if you can go back to the last slide, please. Next one. Yeah, okay. Anything that we do for the purpose of accomplishment, that we do for the rest of the week, the other 6 days. So obviously, for most of us, your job is part of it. But please add on to that list other things, okay? There are household chores. I want to add parental duties as well. Looking after aged parents. There are many obligations that we need to fulfill. And all that, really, we should include it in our list of work. okay? And ministry as well, if I may add that, okay? So all this, we have to add on and say, okay, this is what we have to do for the purpose of accomplishment. And the Bible, basically what it says is that 6 days you do all this, but on the 7th day, 1 day a week, 24 hours, you take a break. Okay. Now, it does not necessarily mean inactivity or sleep, but it simply means taking a break from doing all the things that you normally would do the other 6 days for the purpose of accomplishment. All right. Now, what about an emergency? Okay. Again, don't be legalistic. I have practiced taking a day off for most years. It has been Monday off. Recently, for our pastoral team, we switched to Tuesday because there was some adjustment of schedule. But that's okay. The point is that you take 24 hours. And but I'm not so legalistic. Okay, there are times when there's an emergency I have to attend to, whether it's ministry or family. It's okay. I can do it on the Sabbath then. But I make sure that 1 or 2 days later, I try to take the day off. Okay, as much as possible. And there are times when I go through even a few weeks, I miss my Sabbath day of rest. It's possible because there's something urgent to attend to. It's okay also. But I find for myself, if I go through up to like a month or even 3 weeks, okay, when I get a bit older, a bit shorter the time, without taking a day off, I get cranky, all right? I do get cranky. So I can feel it. I can feel my mind like slowing down. I feel like I'm kind of less patient, and I find myself a bit more mangzang, and I know that, okay, I need to take the day off, okay? So you may feel that way too. Now, the passage also says that there needs to be rest for our domestic helpers and foreign workers as well. So please bear that in mind. Those of us who have domestic helpers, all right, she or he also need the day off. And by the way, in the Bible, there is no concept of retirement. Now, I'm 67. I'm going to relinquish my SP role, senior pastor role, in November, in just a couple of months. So like, wow, you're so funny. The other day because I do have a group of friends from my old school in Moa. We meet for dinner. I mean, we all have settled down in Singapore. There's about 8 of us. So every few months we meet just to catch up, have a meal. And one by one retiring, and quite a few have become grandfathers also. So one of them did say that, this retirement is like, yeah, I really look forward to retirement so that I can really do what I really like to do and what I want to do. But when my turn, when I think, right, I said, actually, I retired 40 years ago. And I didn't mean it as to be sarcastic. I really meant it when I think like that or when I said it. Because for the last 40 years, I've been doing what I want to do, what I really believe in. And I feel very blessed, actually, to be able to think like that or to say that. So I will continue to do. Of course, my role will change. I'm not senior pastor. My role, the responsibilities will change. And different stage of our lives, we will change. And this whole concept of retirements, I think sometimes in Singapore, is getting a bit too big. All right? We have to plan for retirement. And then we get so stressed out trying to save up enough money for retirement. Okay, there's a place to plan, financial planning, be wise, be good steward, yes. But let's not be too hung up about that. And really, in the Bible, there's no retirement. 6 days work, 1 day rest until we die. You mean on the sick bed, still 6 days work, 1 day rest? Yes, on the sick bed, I can still pray for people. I can still witness to the nurses in the hospital. You know what I'm trying to say? Okay, so the idea is that, and work itself actually brings a sense of well-being, a sense of accomplishment. I have friends who go into retirement, 6 months later go into depression, especially those who are quite high-flying type. Man, they've been going like that for 40 years. Suddenly, like, all the emails stop, no more messages. They actually go into depression, no? So we have to prepare for it. And the best way to prepare for it is to understand what work is all about, our relationship with God, and so on and so forth, and to practice Sabbath way before our retirement. I mean, speaking to those of us who are thinking about retirement. Okay, what about full-time homemakers? Okay, all I can say is that, look, if you're a full-time homemaker, and 6 days you're doing all the homemaking, children, household work, cooking, you need your day rest as well. Now, I know it's not an easy thing to solve. All I want to encourage you is husband and wife, you got to think creatively, all right, how to let your spouse, your wife, have the day off as well, all right? If you can't have the whole day, at least half a day or something like that. Start thinking about it because you will have a much happier wife if she had also her Sabbath break, all right? But do be practical about it, and please don't quote me. Please don't talk to your husband, dear, Pastor Vincent said I need a day off. What are you going to do about it? Then your husband is not going to be very happy with me. Okay. But joke aside, I mean it seriously, okay? I think that's how we continue to stay healthy, continue to stay balanced, refreshed, and in the long run, it's good for our spirit, soul, and body, and our mental health, and our emotional health as well. And frankly, I think when you are emotionally healthier, and your tank is, relatively full all the time, you will be a better husband, a better wife, a better son, a better daughter, better friend, right? So I think that's the whole idea. Okay. What about ministry in church, like on a Sunday? I'll just make a couple of comments and we leave it as that for now. Number one is that when we gather together on Sunday, I like to think that it's life-giving, it's not work. I think if we do it right, and everyone comes with a heart to want to give. Remember our purpose of gathering? For what? Mutual edification, building up one another. And I think we are growing in that. There's a lot more room to grow, but I think we are growing. In fact, I think we've grown a lot. Where you look forward, actually, I look forward to the time with my brothers and sisters, and it is refreshing, it's life-giving. I get encouraged, and I'm happy I can also encourage somebody. If we all think like that, but if all of us think as consumers, I come, what can I get out of the sermon today? What can I get out of my cell leader or my cell member? Today, I didn't get much. If everybody thinks like that, then our Sunday gathering as a community would be very tiring. Then I think it's work. I have to go there and work. But if we don't think like that, I believe it can be really a life-giving, refreshing time for all of us. And the other comment I want to make, of course, is this. If all of us chip in and share the load, all right, of running the gathering, of keeping the cell going and different responsibility, then the ministry can be a lot more enjoying. But even then, we are mindful of leaders, cell leaders, pastoral team, different ones of us. We are very mindful that all of us also need a break from time to time. Okay, let me just add one more thing. Firstly, it rests our bodies. Secondly, it refreshes our souls. Exodus 31:17 talks about the Sabbath. It says, "It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel that in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth. On the seventh day he rested and was refreshed." And the word refresh, in the Hebrew word, it means, and he was able to breathe freely. Not just breathe out, but breathe in as well. Now, for 6 days, God created the heavens and the earth. How did he create the heavens and the earth and all that is in it? The spoken word, right? God said, let there be this and that, and let there be animals and plants. When we speak, what do? We are breathing out. So for 6 days, God was working, making the heavens and the earth and all that creatures that is in it, including Adam and Eve. He was breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. And on the seventh day, he stopped. And he finally was able to take a deep breath. Sometimes we say that, hey, come on, pause and take a deep breath. I think Sabbath day is like pausing and taking a deep breath. I shared with you about watching our emotional tank. That's very, very important. And this is something we watch out for, not just the physical, spiritual, but the emotional tank as well. Now, the word to remember is not simply not to forget, but to recall with deep affection and worship of God. To remember is not simply to forget, but it's not simply not to forget, but to recall with deep affection and worship to God. Two things we should remember. Number one, remember our identity as a child of God. Remember our identity as a child of God. We cannot emphasize this more, all right? In fact, throughout this whole series, we keep coming back to this point that we are a child of God. We don't have to do anything to earn God's love for us. He already loved us. And anything we do is out of a response of heart of thanksgiving, not because if I don't do it, God won't be happy. No, all right? We are children of God. We are human beings, not human doing. Secondly, is to remember that God is our provider. God is our provider. In Exodus 16, there's this story of the lesson of the manna. Let's look at it quickly. Morning by morning, they gathered the 40 years in the wilderness, each as much as he could eat, but when the sun grew hot, it melted. On the sixth day, they gathered twice as much bread. So there was manna that came from heaven every day. They would go out from their camp, pick up the manna, and it's only enough for the day. If they take any more, right, by the end of the day, it will spoil. So no point, you see. But on the sixth day, they could collect 2 portions, eat 1 portion, and still keep the second portion for the 7th day. So 7th day, they don't have to go out and gather manna. They don't have to work. So somehow God preserved it for the 7th day. Now the whole idea is this, that it is God who provides for them. And it's an important lesson they have to learn before they enter into the promised land, which is a land flowing with milk and honey. I think we need to trust God when we don't have enough, but I think we need to trust God even more when we have enough or more than enough. And in Singapore, I think our struggle is, for most of us, is that we have too much. All right? And after a while, we don't think we need to trust God. I've made it. I got enough. So it's very dangerous. All right? So yes, when they enter the promised land, flowing with milk and honey, God wants them to learn this. And God says that, this is what He commanded, and that 6th day you shall gather, 7th day, which is Sabbath, there shall be none. So it is to remind them regularly that God is our ultimate provider. It is our ultimate provider. I learned about Sabbath rest even before I became a Christian. I was a student in Australia. I was doing my A-levels. When I went there, I really chong, because I think that, wow, my parents spent so much money. I didn't take any day off. I went on Saturday, Sunday. I still study. And it went on for about 3 to 4 months. And I remember till today, I still remember, this is 50 years ago or more. I remember it was like a Saturday or Friday evening. I was reading my textbook. I was trying to study. And I would be staring at the whole page for a long time, I can read, and I know what I'm reading. I know what the words mean, but nothing registers. I can read it, but it just doesn't register. So I read it again. And I didn't know, I have enough sleep. I eat enough, I'm not hungry. But I was burnt out mentally. Okay, and I didn't know that. I didn't understand that because I was breaking the Sabbath for too long. So what I did was that I suddenly just decided, you know what? I'm just going to visit a friend of mine in another university. Went to see him, stayed overnight at his place. And then, wasn't even a Christian then. Came back and suddenly on Monday morning, I realized my mind started working again. And then I began to realize, actually I need a bit of a break. So I started practicing. It was only years later, after I became a Christian, I learned about this, that, it's called Sabbath rest. And God created me this way. It is how I should function. So sisters and brothers, the practice of daily devotion, the rhythm of daily devotion and weekly Sabbath is an important practice for all of us in order that we can maintain and continue to nourish our emotional health. Let me pray for you. Father, I want to thank you that your word revealed to us your heart and your design for us. God, you created us. You know us better than we know ourselves. You know every molecule in us, every part of our body, soul, and spirit. And you have shown us how we should live our lives so that we can really live life abundantly as we follow your design, we follow your rhythm. So I pray that as we consider this important practice of daily devotion and weekly day of rest, the Sabbath, help us, God. I pray for each one of us because it is a practical struggle to be able to do it in a very busy life in Singapore. So I ask that you enable us, you give us grace. I pray that even among the community, we can support each other in this journey, help each other in practical ways. And may we continue to grow in you and in our emotional health in Jesus' name. Amen.